what if some of the most enduring myths and unexplained events around the world actually point to a shared origin that's, well, let's just say not from around here?
That's a compelling question.
Yeah,
Yeah, it really takes us into some truly fascinating territory.
absolutely. So today, we're embarking on a deep dive, looking into this really intriguing possibility of extraterrestrial influence on Earth.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to explore this by looking at some mysterious islands and also one incredibly powerful, potentially lost artifact.
Right, and for this exploration, we're really focusing on the source materials you shared with us. They detail some genuinely anomalous phenomena surrounding certain remote islands,
Yeah.
and also the whole mystery of the Ark of the Covenant.
Okay, so our mission basically is to pull out the most compelling connections, the best insights from these sources.
See what links up.
Exactly. We want to see if there are underlying threads between these, seemingly unrelated topics that might suggest potential extraterrestrial activity.
It's like giving you a shortcut to understanding some seriously captivating stuff.
Okay, let's get into it. Let's unpack this, starting with some really strange, isolated spots on the map. Could these sort of forbidden islands have actually served as maybe alien outposts?
Well, the idea itself that isolated islands offer discretion, it's certainly intriguing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Far from most people, remote, they could provide a natural kind of concealment.
And the sources you gave us are filled with some truly uh, eyebrow-raising incidents tied to exactly these kinds of locations. Like, take Puerto Rico back in 1963.
Oh, yeah.
The U.S. Navy, they're doing anti-submarine exercises, and they detect a sonar contact moving incredibly fast. We're talking over 150 knots.
Which is, well, as the source points out, it's just astonishing. No known naval vessel back then, or frankly, even now, could hit that speed underwater.
Right.
I mean, sonar works with sound waves, right?
Right.
Echoes. The speed they reported, the drag alone would be immense. It would need a power source way beyond conventional subs.
Especially at depth.
Exactly.
Especially at
Depth. And it gets even weirder. This object, it descends to around 27,000 feet. 27,000 feet. The pressure down there is just crushing.
It would obliterate any sub we know of.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
it defies our current understanding of what's possible down there.
It definitely makes you consider the nature of such a craft, doesn't it? Could it be, operated by beings with tech far beyond ours, maybe even installations deep under the sea?
Which connects, like you said, to later reports in the source material. A big surge in UFO sightings around Puerto Rico since the early 90s.
Mm-hmm. And locals apparently convinced there's a massive advanced facility deep underwater.
Exactly. And this whole idea, underwater bases,
Mhm.
it pops up again when we look at the Aleutian Islands off Alaska.
Right, 1945. The crew of a U.S. Army transport, the Delaroth. They saw something big, dark, and round come out of the water near Adak Island.
The account says it rose vertically, straight up, circled the ship a few times, and then just vanished. Took about 7 or 8 minutes.
And again, that kind of maneuver, emerging from the water, taking off with that agility, it's beyond our known aircraft or subs.
Now, here's where it gets really interesting, I think. The indigenous Aleut people, they have this very specific ancient origin story.
The dog from the sky.
Yeah, they believe their ancestors came from the sky. Specifically, a dog from the sky mated with humans, and that's how their people began.
If you connect that dot, this legend of sky-descended ancestors, it aligns in a really thought-provoking way with all the ongoing UFO reports in that same area.
Uh,
The source even mentions these persistent rumors of an underground alien base or UFO base somewhere in the Aleutians.
could the legends just be like a cultural memory? Passed down through generations, maybe, of actual encounters with beings they saw as coming from the sky?
It's a possibility, and the source brings up a geological point too: islands as energetic upwellings, places with natural energy concentrations.
Which could be really attractive to extraterrestrial visitors, right? Either for a base or just as a power source.
It raises that question. Are these things, the legends, the sightings, the geology, are they just coincidences? Or could they be echoes of actual ET interactions way back?
Let's hop across the Atlantic now to the Isle of Man. Another island with its own rich layer of mystical legends, most famously, the Tuatha De Danann.
Ah, yes, the Tuatha De Danann, portrayed as this mystical race, advanced knowledge, almost magical abilities. Legend says they were banished from heaven, arrived in Ireland in a cloud,
Right.
and eventually they supposedly vanished, leaving behind what the local folklore calls the little people.
And the source material draws these parallels between the legends of the little people and modern alien abduction accounts. It's kind of striking.
It is. Things like being put under a spell, time distortion, being taken and returned with missing time.
Yeah.
These themes sound remarkably like common elements in abduction reports. Paralysis, missing time, encounters with small beings. It makes you wonder, could these ancient legends just be how people back then interpreted encounters with ETs, using their own cultural framework?
And the Isle of Man has this long history, centuries of reports of fiery wheels in the sky.
Fiery wheels, yeah.
The source mentions a report from 2,500 years ago, describing a three-spoked craft coming down from the heavens. Sounds weirdly like Ezekiel's wheel in the Bible.
For anyone not familiar, Ezekiel's vision describes this complex, wheel-like thing with celestial beings. Some ancient astronaut theorists think it wasn't divine, but maybe an alien ship.
So, this potential link between the Isle of Man sightings and Ezekiel. It's interesting.
It suggests these fiery wheels weren't maybe isolated incidents, but recurring ET visits across different places throughout history. The idea that the Isle of Man could have been an early base, with these sightings being actual craft, it's definitely thought-provoking.
Okay, let's jump now across the globe again. South Pacific, Solomon Islands, a
That-
place really deeply connected with legends of giants.
Right. On Guadalcanal, the biggest island there, lots of local legends about giants, sometimes good, sometimes bad.
Sometimes interbreeding with humans and using underground tunnels.
Exactly. And then in 1998, during gold mining, workers supposedly found these massive footprints in the mud after a bulldozer blade was moved somehow.
Moved mysteriously.
Right. And some locals saw it as proof, tangible evidence of these giants.
And there was an author, Marius Byron, who lived there for years. He linked these giant legends directly to UFO activity, suggested underground and underwater UFO bases.
And we have eyewitness accounts, too. UFOs rising from the ocean near WWII wreckage, flying inland to a remote mountain lake.
Fishermen nearby even felt intense heat as they passed overhead.
Plus, numerous local stories of abductions.
It's a lot. And what about the other weird creatures in their folklore? The Adaro half-fish, half-man from Rainbows.
Or the Chua Chua, shape-shifting humans.
The source suggests maybe these aren't just myths. Maybe they're misinterpreted encounters with ETs, maybe deliberately made scary to keep people away.
It's a possibility, and the Solomons sit on the Ring of Fire seismically active.
Ah, another potential energy source connection, like we talked about with the other island.
Exactly. Geothermal energy readily available could be another reason for interest.
Okay, let's head back north in the Pacific. Nan Madol, off the coast of Pohnpei.
Ah, the Venice of the Pacific.
Right. This uninhabited ancient city, it's just incredible. Massive megalithic basalt structures built on artificial islands.
The scale is just mind-boggling. Over 750,000 tons of basalt. Individual stones, 5 to 50 tons each, stacked up high.
And this is around the 13th century. How did they quarry, transport, and lift these massive stones with just ropes, rollers, rafts? Mainstream archaeology has explanations, but
It seems almost impossible, doesn't it? The logistics are staggering.
the local legends give a totally different story.
Mhm.
The stones were flown or levitated into place.
Using some powerful force, the source connects it to fringe ideas like auditive levitation, moving heavy stuff with sound. And the local Pohnpeians, they believe Nan Madol was built way before their ancestors got there, by ghost hands.
I think it's cursed, too. There's
Yeah.
that story about Governor Berg meeting a mysterious end after exploring the ruins. Adds to the whole aura.
And maybe the most intriguing bit, this local belief in a second underwater city beneath Nan Madol, a city of the gods.
There it is again, the underwater connection. Hinting at a submerged base or something otherworldly.
This recurring theme, submerged structures, legends, it definitely adds weight to the speculation about ETs, a link between land and underwater activity, perhaps.
Okay, finally, in this island tour, let's talk about vanishing islands. Sandy Island, for instance,
Right.
appeared on maps for over 230 years. Captain Cook charted it in the 1770s. It was on modern satellite maps.
And then, poof, gone in 2012. Researchers sailed right over where it should be. Nothing but deep ocean.
And the fact that multiple accounts, old and new, confirmed it existed makes its disappearance super puzzling. It wasn't just a low sandbar that got washed away. The water's too deep.
So the source throws out some wilder ideas. Maybe natural phenomena we don't get, maybe alien cloaking tech, bending light.
Or maybe the island itself was temporary, some kind of alien device.
It ties into those old myths of disappearing islands, like Antilia, phantom islands that just appear and vanish.
Blurs the line between folklore and maybe something real, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Then there's High Brazil, the Phantom Island off Ireland.
Supposedly appears only once every 7 years, but you can never reach it.
It was on maps as early as 1325. Sightings reported up to 1872. Stories of explorers bringing back silver, gold,
Yeah.
seeing giant black rabbits, glowing people.
Weird stuff. And Irish lore connects High Brazil to where their gods came from, an advanced civilization. The idea it still exists, submerged, popping up now and then. It's captivating.
And the source suggests maybe High Brazil is a submerged, high-tech alien base.
So you put it all together, these strange events, ancient legends, vanishing lands, all clustered around these remote islands.
It definitely suggests these places might hold secrets beyond our current science.
It makes you consider it.
Less conventional explanation.
It really does.
Okay, so we've explored some seriously weird islands. Now let's shift gears. Let's dive into another potentially huge piece of evidence for ancient ET contact, the Ark of the Covenant.
Ah, the Ark. Regardless of personal belief, it's captured imaginations for millennia.
Absolutely. Just to recap for anyone unfamiliar, sacred chest from the Hebrew Bible held the Ten Commandments tablets.
And it represented God's throne on earth, a focal point of divine presence.
But the instructions God gave Moses for building it, they were incredibly precise. Exact dimensions, gold, acacia wood, the cherubim on top, how to carry with poles.
It does make you ask, why would a purely spiritual being need such detailed specs for a physical object?
Good question. And the source mentions Moses' face glowing after Mount Sinai. Some think that was from exposure to a powerful energy source.
Plus, the strict warnings. Don't touch it, don't even look at it directly, underscores that it could cause harm.
And it supposedly held other amazing things. Aaron's rod that could turn into a snake.
And a jar of manna, that mysterious food from the sky that fed the Israelites in the desert.
Which brings us to that manna machine theory. Engineers Dale and Sassoon proposed it.
Yeah, they suggested the Ark wasn't just a box, but maybe housed some advanced tech, possibly nuclear-powered, that actually produced the manna.
The source even brings up the Zohar, that mystical Jewish text. It describes a transportable one with tanks. Could that be a mistranslation referring to something ancient but technical?
Why use words like transportable or tanks in a purely spiritual context? It does hint at something more tangible, maybe even mechanical.
And the destructive power attributed to the Ark in the Bible. It's just extraordinary.
The Jordan River parting when they carried the Ark through.
The walls of Jericho crumbling after they marched around blowing trumpets suggests some powerful, unexplained force.
That Jericho story, walls of stone falling from marching in trumpets, the source draws that parallel to sonic booms from modern jets, suggesting maybe a similar but way more powerful sonic force destroyed Jericho.
Plausible? Maybe. Then you have the Philistines capturing the Ark. Plagues break out. Their Dagon statue falls over.
And the people in Beth Shemesh who looked inside it died. Like that "don't look" scene the source mentions from Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Classic. And don't forget Aaron's sons, consumed by beams of fire from the Ark.
Taken together, it paints a picture of a device that was not just powerful, but potentially incredibly dangerous.
The source asks a key question. If it was purely divine, why so destructive?
The idea that it might have been advanced tech, maybe even a weapon like a nuke, in the hands of people who didn't fully grasp it, that's a sobering thought.
But it wasn't just about destruction. It was also supposedly for communication with God.
Right. Only the high priest, Aaron, and his successors could approach it. Strict rules, special protective clothes.
And that rope tied to their leg, just in case they needed to be pulled out, presumably.
The idea is God's presence was between the cherubim on the lid, the mercy seat. But the theory that the Ark worked like an electrical capacitor with the cherubim as terminals, that's a fascinating physics-based interpretation. A capacitor just stores electrical energy.
And the descriptions of God's presence, smoke, fire, bright light, crackling sound, they could sound like electrical discharge or something similar, couldn't they?
They could. And then there's the breastplate of judgment, worn by the high priest, adorned with 12 gemstones.
During these communications.
Exactly. And the Talmudic accounts describe pulsating sounds from above the cherubim that made the gemstones light up in a specific sequence.
The source calls it like extraterrestrial Morse code.
Which suggests a structured, coded communication, not just, a spiritual feeling.
Okay, so the big enduring mystery. Where did the Ark go? It just vanishes from history after Solomon's Temple, around 955 BC.
And the source dives into several really intriguing theories about its fate.
Right. One is it went to Japan with lost tribes of Israel, Mount Tsurugi, similarities in Shinto rituals.
And that Japanese historian whose excavations got banned there adds a little mystery.
Other ideas.
Mm.
hidden under the Temple Mount in Jerusalem by priests before the Babylonians came.
Or maybe taken by the Knights Templar, potential hiding spots like Chartres Cathedral, Rennes Chateau. The Nazis were apparently looking for it too.
And then there's Ethiopia. The claim it's in the Church of St. Mary of Zion in Axum.
Guarded by one monk who thinks the Ark's power, this thing of fire, is making him sick. And there was an ancient Jewish population in Ethiopia.
Makes it slightly more plausible, maybe. The source also mentions the idea there might have been 2 arks.
Which could explain all the different stories and locations.
But could it ever reappear? The source talks about that secret Israeli tunnel under the Dome of the Rock in 81, led by Rabbi Yehudi Getz, specifically looking for the Ark.
Shows the belief is still strong that it might be there. And then there's that reported UFO sighting over the Dome of the Rock in 2011.
Yeah, ball of light, pulsating energy.
And the source connects that to an old prophecy in Zechariah, foretells an earthquake in Jerusalem from sonic vibrations underground, heralding the Ark's return and the Messiah.
So was that UFO maybe an ET involved in reactivating or finding the Ark?
It's definitely a provocative thought, links ancient prophecy and modern UFOs. And if the Ark was found and we understood what it really is, the implications would be huge. Transformative, maybe, could even lead to contact with whoever made it.
But the source rightly points out the potential dangers, given our history with powerful tech and war.
Are we ready for something like that? The knowledge it might bring.
That's a crucial point. Finding the Ark would force us to confront our past, our understanding of ancient history, but also our future, our place in the cosmos.
Yeah, a massive undertaking.
So, wrapping up this deep dive,
Hmm.
we've looked at some really remarkable stuff, these recurring patterns around remote islands, the incredible powers linked to the Ark of the Covenant.
And what's really insightful, I think, is how these subjects, which seem so different, both drop these intriguing hints about possible ancient ET interaction.
Right. The persistent legends, the sightings that just defy easy explanation, the sheer unlikelihood of some of these feats. They create these surprising connections.
You really do start seeing these echoes across cultures and time. Myths of sky gods mirroring modern UFOs, magical artifacts that might just be super advanced tech.
It really makes you rethink what we think we know about our own history.
Which leaves us with a final, pretty compelling question for you, the listener, to think about. Based on everything we've explored today, what do you feel is the most plausible explanation for all these mysteries?
Are they just isolated natural events?
Yeah.
Misinterpretations? Or could they genuinely be encounters with something beyond our current understanding?
And maybe even more profoundly, what would the implications be? The truly far-reaching consequences for all of humanity if we ever found definitive, irrefutable proof of ancient or even ongoing extraterrestrial activity.